Hello, welcome again to more Deadpool. I'm your host, Buster, and joining me as always is
Mm-hmm.
Moonpear.
Hi.
We're here for the
I
appropriately
almost said
titled.
Xbox Series X
That's right.
then, by
That's
the
right.
way.
I bleed green.
Every time.
Um, we're here back for the appropriately titled Deadpool 2.
Yes,
It's the sequel to Deadpool.
it's the sequel to Deadpool. The
Yeah.
movie that should never have been made, that got made, that made a bajillion dollars. Which I didn't realize this, by the way. We talked about the first movie last time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to throw this little thing in. Was not released in China and still made that much money.
Wow. Okay. Dang. Huh.
Uh-huh.
I feel like we sort of know a little bit of what we're getting into with this movie based on the Ferris Bueller after credits scene that we forgot to talk about last episode.
Yes, we totally did, didn't we? We
Yeah.
totally forgot to talk about that moment.
Yep.
Go home.
Yeah.
We've got an idea for the sequel. It's going to be Cable.
Right.
We don't know who it's going to be yet, but it's going to be Cable.
Yeah. So
Spoiler alert.
I'm gonna assume Cable's in this.
Well, also you have the poster right there,
Uh-huh.
or a poster right there.
Right.
So Boston,
Uh-huh.
you had a better than anticipated reaction to Deadpool 1.
Yes.
What are your vibes going into Deadpool 2?
I have a couple of concerns, I think.
Okay. Hit me. Let's go. Let's tear the Band-Aid off.
I'm concerned at like an overall level that they're going to lean further into Deadpool in this movie. And I think part of why I liked the first movie was it wasn't completely a Deadpool movie. You know, we talked about it having a lot more heart than expected. So I'm a little worried that audiences really loved Deadpool last time. Let's lean a little bit more into that. We'll see how that shakes out. I am worried that his fiancée Vanessa is her name?
Vanessa Morena Baccarin.
Right. I'm worried she's gonna die. There's
a chill in the air. You're afraid a refrigerator is about to happen.
Yeah, because like the driving force in the first movie was I gotta get hot again for my fiance, and that was resolved well at the end of the first movie. So I feel like she's got to die.
So let's talk about the most annoying thing about Deadpool 2.
Oh no. Do they fridge her?
They fridge her. She's fridged in the first 5 minutes of the movie, dude. She's in this movie for 10 minutes. It's so annoying.
Come on, man. You see that coming from a mile away.
It's so annoying.
That sucks.
Because she's fantastic as Vanessa, as we discussed in the previous
She's great
movie.
in everything.
Yes. And she nailed that role. She nailed that performance. And the fact that you're going to take her out of this movie at the very beginning, so I'm not too concerned about spoilers, is very, very annoying.
Man. All right, fine.
All right. So get ready for a fridging to happen.
All right.
That's fun, I guess.
Girding myself for that. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Cable. Because I think...
Yes, friend of the show, Justin, who is a Cable fanatic.
I think he's, goofy and overwrought in a way that I sort of click with. I think Cable, when I was reading comics, mid to late 90s, it seemed like he was super overly serious. And I kind of had a soft spot for that. I think my concern with him in this is I'm not sure how much time travel-y stuff is going to happen, because I feel like that's the the quagmire that Cable sinks into all the time is like, whoops, time
Yes.
traveled again. Whoop, that.
So
Whoops.
what do you
Travel time.
know? For those in the audience who listening who don't know Cable, what do you know about Cable from the comics, like in regards to that?
He always seemed to be. I'm gonna make somebody so mad. Uh, he always seemed to be this like gruff, like ill portent of the dark future because he time
Uh-huh.
traveled backwards, and he's just like, yeah, man, you see this eye I got? That's how bad the future is. See this arm? Whew, that's a real future arm. It's like, okay, I guess it's bad. Let's try and prevent the dark future, I guess. Um, but Cable
Okay,
was never,
but he was always gruff and serious in
yeah,
his appearances.
and it felt like, and again, I'm not. We will say this until this show ends at the heat death of the universe, but I am not a comic book expert, so this is my
Uh-huh.
like layman's thing. Is that it always seemed to be the like dark Marvel '90s thing of like people kind of like the X-Men too much. They're
That's
yeah,
Knights with a K, Marvel Knights with
that's
a
right.
K, by the way.
That's right.
Also, the Punisher line for the record
Yeah,
is that specific imprint.
and it seemed sort of like that was the, like people like the X-Men too much. We got to get somebody in here who's an anti-hero or just a villain that you're gonna
Yes.
read. Um, and
So if we have let me just throw these balls in the air for you.
sure.
If we have a fourth wall breaking comedy character,
Hmm.
you think we maybe need a straight man to go with this fourth wall breaking comedy character?
Yeah, and I mean that's
Colossus in the first one,
right.
arguably.
To me that was Colossus and Negasonic in the first one, who I hope they show up back in this one at least for a little bit because I think both of them were kind of pitch perfect in those roles.
Yeah.
Um, but I could see Cable being that character in this one of just being like, "Hi, preventing the dark future. Can we like get back on? Okay, no, you're like petting a giraffe at the zoo. Okay, cool. Like, can we just get back to preventing the evil thing from doing its evil business?
Uh-huh.
So, because I think you're right. There needs to be that sort of that balance there that I feel like maybe originally T.J. Miller's character might have been in some of the early drafts, and then just
Uh-huh.
got moved to like, oh, you're just running the bar here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Plot wise, what do we think?
Jesus, I have no idea.
So we
um,
know Cable's in here. So we're
right.
assuming the Cable is time traveling, also based off the photo that you have here. He's very clearly in a portal of some kind.
Hmm.
Um,
Um,
so he's time traveling to avoid the ill portents of a dark future, as you have guessed.
I would assume that seems to be a Cable thing he can do. The only thing I could think of is with Vanessa dying quickly at the beginning of this, a revenge movie somehow, and only
Okay.
Deadpool is only being roped in because that bad guy killed Vanessa and also is gonna destroy the world or whatever, but Deadpool doesn't really care.
Okay. Do we think we see any mutants at all, other than
Oh man.
hopefully Colossus and Nega?
I feel like there's probably gonna be at least like two. Probably
Okay.
the budget has to be bigger in this one. I'm going to assume, um, and
Yeah, I can find out for you. Hold on.
yeah, I don't really want to look because half of the time you look,
It's going to be
people are
spoilers.
like,
Yes.
"Oh, based on the end credits sequence where this happens," and it's like, "Oh, cool, thanks." Um,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like I would
110 million, by the way.
okay,
So
quite
almost double the budget of the previous one.
yeah, quite a bit bigger. But still, compared to most Marvel stuff, like a third or a quarter of the usual budget here. Um,
Uh-huh.
if Colossus and Negasonic weren't in the first one, I would say there's no chance you're getting another another X-Men, but I feel like they're going to be not the A tier comic book heroes. It's not going to be your Wolverine. See the next movie. It's not going to be your
Yes.
Cyclops. Anything like that. You know, it's going to be Negasonic Teenage Warhead. It's going to be, I would say, Ego the Living Planet, but another movie already stole that one, so we can't have our fun here.
Yeah. Yep. We can't have that here because that's officially in the MCU.
Right. Which other comic book heroes did Monster Magnet reference? I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel like there has to be at least like fan favorite secondary characters, I'm sure.
Okay. What about people we know? Do we see Dopinda again?
I would like to. Yeah.
Do we see Blind Al again?
That one to me is a 50-50, I think.
Okay.
How much IKEA plugs do you want to put in the second movie?
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad reference.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that one, to be honest. I completely forgot about the IKEA stuff.
It's a very good bit.
Okay, what else can... I mean... Timeline-wise, this is what, 2018?
Mm-hmm.
So we are right between the new X-Men stuff and also between the MCU really blowing up in ridiculous ways.
The tagline on this Deadpool 2 poster says, "From the studio that killed Wolverine." So you can kind of tell what timeline this movie takes place in, thereabouts. So
that's a really good tagline.
Yep.
It really is.
Yep.
Logan was, I think, the year before.
Isn't that 2016, maybe?
You've seen Logan, right?
I have not. That will be that question will come up at the beginning of next movie. Yeah. Also, I know there's two versions of this movie, sort of famously, the R-rated version and then the PG-13 version, which I know
we will be watching the R-rated version.
Yeah, I'm not sure if so I remember is, and correct me if I'm wrong, R-rated version came out, PG-13 version came out that had like stuff cut and bleeped, but they added a whole bunch of extra content to it, and then they put out another R-rated version that had that extra content in it. So I'm not.
I did not know that. So
okay, yeah, I wish I knew. The PG-13 version of the movie is called Once Upon a Deadpool, which is really good.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I don't remember what the other version of the movie is called. It had some kind of silly, some silly title to it. But I'm not sure if those. What I haven't heard from pretty much anybody is, are those extra 15 minutes really necessary? I'm gonna assume not, because it's not like, if you watch Deadpool 2, you have to.
It's not a director's cut conversation. Yeah, I haven't seen the extended edition. I've only seen the cinematic version, I believe, and I think that's the best. That's one of the best versions you could get. Obviously, having not seen the other one, I didn't feel like anything was missing from that, really.
What is the super duper cut? Is the extra version?
Of course.
But yeah, like I haven't heard anybody say like, "Oh, you gotta watch the super duper cut. That's the real way to watch this movie." So I'm gonna assume it's not super important.
Probably no.
Yeah.
Do you know who plays Cable? I mean, his image is right there.
Josh Brolin?
Yes.
Yeah. An actor I always forget that I really like until I watch him, and I'm like, yeah, Josh Brolin, go for it.
Same. Yeah. Everything I've ever seen him, I'm like, oh, why do I know you? Oh, that's why I know you. Oh, that's right. You're incredible.
Yeah.
Oh no, why are you so good? I mean, go see the Dune season. He plays Gurney Halleck in that. Who is he at the moment? in this timeline? Who is he currently?
He at the time of recording, he's in that M. Night Shyamalan Trap movie.
What about the time of the movie?
Oh, 2018? I don't know.
He's Thanos.
Oh, jeez. All right. Okay. So there's got to be at least one Thanos joke in
There
this
is a
movie.
Thanos joke that gets made in this
Okay.
movie,
Fair enough.
but
I'll allow it.
having him be in the MCU in two different versions of the MCU is just
That's pretty good.
chef's kiss.
That's pretty good. Yeah, other than that, I feel like I heard the most about the first movie, and then I heard the
Mhm.
most about Deadpool and Wolverine. That's largely recency bias.
Yes,
But I heard the least about Deadpool 2, other than if you enjoyed
it's
the
another
first
Deadpool
one,
movie.
you'll probably enjoy the second one. If you enjoyed the first one, you've already seen the second one. So on and so forth.
Uh-huh.
So other than that, I'm kind of going in with interesting expectations.
High hopes. We've got
Well, and I know
high
there's a different
hopes.
director this time. Tim Miller left the project. It's directed by David Lech, who was the co-director of John Wick and directed Hobbs and Shaw. So
Okay.
did some did some cool action stuff already. So if you
Also,
bring
Bullet Train and the Fall Guy, which we will
yeah
talk about in the future.
yeah, so some kind of cool action stuff here, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. So any parting thoughts here before we dive into Deadpool 2?
No. I'm curious to see what you think of this movie.
Yeah, very
I
very
don't really
curious.
want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
Um,
especially coming off the first one. Very curious.
yeah, and like it's just honestly the thing I would say is just like the first one. I think this has got people who are not Deadpool who 1000% steal the show.
Okay.
And I'm very excited to see if yours and my opinion of that correlate.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, let's go watch the film.
Yep.
Welcome back. We're here again. Time traveling. Take two.
No, spoilers.
Oh
Spoilers.
no! Oh no! I do have to uh, make a confession here.
Okay.
I have watched this movie, and I have watched a significant portion of Once Upon a Deadpool as well.
Okay.
So we will talk about where that loops in here in a minute. Sorry, that wasn't a time travel joke. But
Uh-huh.
we'll figure out where it all kind of crisscrosses here in a minute.
Okay. I have a mistake that we made that I have to admit to as well.
Oh my, okay.
We did not talk at all in the Deadpool 1 conversation about the X gun give it to you mic drop. Needle drop, I should say.
That was pretty good.
It was, and I was reminded about it because this movie has it right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. And
And I was like, oh, we didn't talk about that like at all.
it has its own musical homages as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Um
Where do we begin? Where do we begin? Let's
Man, I
let's
don't
talk
know.
about the coldness in the room first and foremost. Let's just deal with the fridging straight off the bat. Let's just get
Okay.
that out the way.
Okay, so I want to talk about Once Upon a Deadpool then.
Okay.
Just to lead into this. So Once Upon a Deadpool opens with Deadpool having kidnapped Fred Savage and recreating the bedroom from Princess Bride, and he has taped Fred Savage to the bed, and he's going to read the King James version of Deadpool 2, which is
Okay.
really
That's a
good,
That's a good reference.
to Fred Savage. So, like, that's how the movie opens. The movie then cuts out the majority of the intro of this movie, where Deadpool is like, blowing
Killing people?
himself up. He's killing a bunch of people. It cuts right to where the bad guy closes himself in the panic room and Deadpool leaves. That's the beginning of the movie. So it cuts out a pretty good amount of stuff.
There's a lot of violence in that, so yes.
It's understandable. This overall is a pretty significantly different cut of this movie. Just so I don't forget to say it, my recommendation would be watch the R-rated version of this, and then right after that, watch the PG-13 version of this, because it kind of references the R-rated version of the movie in a Deadpool fourth wall breaking sort of way in that movie. And then, of course, if you haven't seen Princess Bride, you also need to see that, because they make a "Is this a kissing book?" joke when Wade and Vanessa kiss for the first time when she gives him his present.
Yes.
And Deadpool is like waiting for Fred Savage to say the thing, and he's like, "No, the hell's wrong with you? I'm like 35 years old. What are you talking?" It's actually a really good set of bits. But when Vanessa dies in Once Upon a Deadpool, Fred Savage interjects and says, "Oh my God, you fridged her?" And Deadpool's like, "What do you mean? What's fridging?" He's like, "Oh, it's when you kill the female character to give the male character a reason for his journey, for revenge, for something else." And Deadpool is aghast at, one, the lazy writing, and then two, the misogyny of it. And like he's beside himself with frustration. I'm like, you know what? All right, that's pretty good.
Also, the fact that he actually calls her out as fridging is a nice touch too.
It's really good. That whole... I'm glad she's in more of the movie than I thought she would be, because I thought it'd be like a montage of flashbacks from the first movie, and then him being like, and then she died and was gunned down horribly, and we couldn't afford her to be in this movie except for in a montage. But she was there for quite a...
She does a lot more than you think, considering she's killed in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
And it sucks.
Also, again, the chemistry between the two of them right from the get-go is incredible. And the genuine emotion between the two of them in every other scene after the fridging happens is incredible. It's like she knocks it out the park again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
Why you kill?
I
so cold.
I do like that in the intro, quote unquote, credits, that it references.
I can't believe you just killed her.
Yeah, she was the only reason people watched this movie. It's pretty good. They cut that out of Once Upon a Deadpool. Now that I think about it, interesting.
There's a lot of swearing in those titles, though.
That's true. That makes sense.
A lot of swearing in those titles.
Deadpool also has a physical censor button in that version of the movie. So he just has, like, he's bleeping Fred Savage with a boop boop button.
Okay.
Pretty good. You need to watch it. It's pretty great.
This is great. Someone who can't stand Deadpool now has seen 2 Deadpool 2 movies in a week, essentially.
So I think part of the thing that I like about... I had a hard time with this movie. I didn't have a hard time watching it. I think part of this movie's problem is it's a little too overstuffed. There's just like one too many things going on, which I get it. Because after the first one, it's like they're not going to let us make a third one. We got to get all this in here.
I have some real bad news for you about the next one, dude.
We'll get there in next episode. But part of what I like about Once Upon a Deadpool is they cut a lot of that fluff. So like they completely remove the scene where you are first introduced to the place that's torturing the mutant kids.
The school.
Yeah. They cut all that out. Great. They have a flashback of like the bald guy torturing Fire Fist.
Russell.
Yeah, and that's
Russell.
About it.
His name is terrible. His name is Russell.
Fire Fist is so bad. I love it. It's so good. But like I feel like Deadpool 2 isn't a bad movie. Let me just say that before I start nitpicking it. But I think it does have like a little bit too much in it. I don't think any of it. I can't look at any of these storylines and say like, oh, this storyline or this scene or this part was bad. There's just a lot of it, and the movie's cooking.
Yes, it never slows down.
No,
it's a 2 hours and 6 minutes, I think, and it
Something
feels like it's about 60 minutes.
Yeah,
that's how quick it goes.
Yeah,
but there's just so much going on. Also, the fact that they reference Logan at the very, very start of the regular movie, it just go like, I hate Wolverine. Not only did he go and steal my R-rated thing, but also then he went and died.
Yeah, I do. I'm sort of surprised because I think one of the things that we celebrated about the first movie was there was a lot less fourth wall breaking than we were expecting, and I think there's a significantly higher amount of that in this movie, but I think it still works. Like when he talks to the camera in Dipinder's taxi at the very beginning about how it's, you know, Passion of the Christ, and then right below, I'm right there below.
Yeah, it's such a good reference, especially considering we literally were talking about the box office for the first episode.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, he's right there. He's right near Jesus, essentially.
Yeah, domestically, you know, other than the rest of the world where there isn't religion. That's pretty good. They use that well, like when they're in the Xavier school and Colossus is making a number of like double entendre references, and he just looks at the camera and like rolls his eyes a little bit. Like that's the sort of stuff of like, we all know it's a joke.
We don't have to say it.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it out a little bit, but also this is kind of Colossus, right, guys? Like, so I was surprised that I think so much of that worked. And I think a lot of that stuff actually did make me laugh more than I was expecting it to. There was a lot more.
The Papa Can You Hear Me line got me so much.
So I want to talk about...
we need to talk about this.
Quick swerve to the ending, because this is one of the cases of the type of comedy I like is weird, usually. Like, I like the off-the-wall, esoteric, nonsensical sort of comedy, but I also...
cannot wait for you to see I Heart Huckabees.
I will probably like it a lot. But when Deadpool is dying at the end of this movie, and he won't die, and him just being like, oh, I can feel it. Oh, it's so hard to pass on. Like, you know it's coming. You know he's going to not die, but like, something about it kept getting me, where he's like, oh, I can feel it. My soul exiting the body. Oh yeah. Like, can you see it? And everyone's like, no.
Yeah. Because he starts that whole sequence with Papa Can You Hear Me, and those very last words are, do you want to build a snowman?
Right.
Which is a callback to the very start of the movie, which is a fantastic little touch.
Yep. Yeah, I think this movie still... I feel like it pushes further than the first movie, but I don't think it pushes so far that I felt like it wasn't funny anymore. You know, like there are sometimes when there are like raunchy comedies or like the high school dirty comedies where they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you're like, okay, I get it. There's the famous toilet scene in Not Another Teen Movie where they take that to the ultimate extreme of that genre. Like, that is like so unfunny, it's funny, but I feel like this movie still manages to strike a pretty solid balance between we're an R-rated comedy and we're going to take advantage of that, but we're not going to push it too much.
Yeah. The death montage is kind of cool. Like the fact that he's trying to kill himself in many different ways, and then the thing that... And then I like the fact that they used that and him being literally brushed or scooped into a bag, essentially, is the introduction of Colossus.
I like Colossus not even gingerly dragging him down the stairs towards the school, and
in a sack.
just in this duffel bag. And I like that Deadpool's first reaction is like, "Oh no, I know that voice."
I know that voice.
Like, and it leads into one of my favorite. It's in both versions. One of my favorite X-Men jokes where he's like, "Where is everybody?" And then 2 shots later, it just cuts to them closing the door.
And it's the Beast from it's the first class crew closing the doors.
That's pretty good, man. I just, because you expect, I think after the first one, you expect them to be like, yeah, no, it's just the 4 of you in this house. It's not going to be anybody. And they're just like, close the door. I don't want any part of this.
So here is the fun part of that is they were both shot separately. They actually shot the X-Men on the set of Dark Phoenix, I think it was they were filming at the time.
Oh, okay.
So they just put the camera there, shot it, had them close the door, and then when they were doing the Deadpool side of it, they just shot him in that corridor from that angle at the door, and then they just blended the two together. It's such a good joke because he's literally riding around the mansion on Professor X's wheelchair.
In the Once Upon a Deadpool, when Colossus tells him they're going on the mission to the school, Deadpool already knows because he's wearing Cerebro. He's like, "Oh yes, we have a mission. You're taking me with you," and then he accidentally breaks Cerebro when he leaves. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. I do really like seeing Deadpool in the youth pastor outfit.
With Negasonic.
Negasonic and Yukio of
great
just like
chemistry.
It's so, and I love how much Deadpool loves Yukio, and she's just like, I like him, and Deadpool,
he loves Negasonic too. It's just
really
they have that kind of relationship. When he first sees her, he's like, "Yes, this is my girlfriend Yukio," and start, you bigot or whatever it is, and he's like, "Whoa, stop the hate train, Fox and friends." And I couldn't help but bust out laughing because it's like, he literally hasn't said anything or done anything. He hasn't. He's actually happy for her. He's just likes, they poke fun at each other. That is what they do.
And then he calls her Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. Like, it's pretty good. But yeah, I like that whole outfit, and Negasonic just being like, you might have fooled Colossus, but like, I know that
let's use the Velcro instead of the masking tape thing.
Right. It's so good. And the stuff after this of him and
hold on.
Yeah.
Now we get Cable. The introduction of Cable.
Yeah, because they go to the icebox, which is largely fine.
No, we're talking about Cable's arrival here. His jump from the future first and foremost. Like when future. He jumps from the future and arrives and steals a guy's truck who's obsessed with toilet paper. So,
this is the last scene.
Did you catch who that was?
No, I didn't.
That's Matt Damon, dude.
Oh, that's great. I had no idea. This is the last scene I watched in the Once Upon Deadpool is the rock bottom scene that we'll be coming up to here in a minute. But as soon as Cable is on screen and he like time travels from the future, Fred Savage is really pumped that they have Cable, and he's like, he's the son of this, and his mom is a clone of Jean Grey, and he's listing like 15 different facts, and he's like, I hope you gave this incredibly nuanced character the backstory introduction that he really deserved. And Deadpool takes a really long pause and goes, we did the time travel stuff, yeah, and it just cuts back to the movie.
That's good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, the toilet paper guy, that's Matt Damon, which I think is a fantastic uncredited cameo. We'll get to the other big cameo in a little bit. Russell at the school. This is where Russell gets the torture scene, and he essentially breaks out, and that's the mission essentially that they have to go on to.
Because he's setting the school on fire. We're trying to kill the headmaster, understandably.
Yes. And this is the trainee joke about 1 million times, which is fantastic.
I also really appreciate how this is a a movie that takes place in modern time, but they go out of their way to make the school and everything around it, including like the cars and everything, look like it's from the 60s, which reinforces Deadpool's joke about the X-Men being like heavy-handed racism reference from the 60s.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Everyone looks like they're from the 60s. They're dressed like the 60s.
Yep.
They talk like they're in a 60s movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very smartly done. And I like the fact that he says, I probably shouldn't have packed my hollow points for this.
Yep. I like that.
And again,
even Negasonic is like, sorry, what?
did you just say hollow points?
Right.
Is that what you just said?
Anyways, back to the mission.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good... Again, it's a... Deadpool 2 is a family movie.
That's right. And not just because family is an F word.
Yes. This is the start of that self-made family, essentially.
Right.
And it's a genuine, heartfelt sequence where Wade does his best to stop Russell. I'm not going to say his name. Wade does his best to stop Russell to calm him down. Negasonic and Colossus both get hit in the process, which I like the fact that Negasonic is the first one to get hit, and if you look in the background after she's bounced off the box truck that she hits, she's taking off her jacket and she's getting ready for the full X-Men.
That's such a good shot. Like I called that out right at the beginning. I was like, all right, that's a pretty cool shot of her just being like, all right, okay, now you made me grumpy.
Let me get my jacket off. It's time to get serious, kind of moment. And Wade, honestly, does the right thing, and puts a hole in one of the like, not helpers, the aides, whatever they're called.
Like, I don't know how you reference them, but
yeah. He puts a hole in his forehead quite correctly, in my opinion, especially considering the location they're at, and they know what they're doing, and they're being saved by mutants from a mutant who they're trying to torture the mutant away.
Right.
Nothing like a pray the gay away type, as Deadpool puts it.
Exactly.
Which is just a perfect reference too.
Yep.
Oh
man.
And yeah, he puts a hole in one, doesn't put a hole in the other, and both him and Russell end up in the icebox. Oopsies.
There's a string of jokes as he's walking up the stairs about like my Airbnb, the listing, and whatever. They're digging too much like usual. But one joke that did get me was where he tells Russell like, "Oh, after you first." He's leaning on the frame, just being like, "Oh, another one of these sickos finally in the prison. Let's go get a bagel." And they're like, "The heck, get in there!" Like, I really liked his like casual, just sort of like, "Ugh, these people disgust me." It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is very, very good. And, they go to the icebox with their power dampening collars.
Yep.
What power does Deadpool have, Boston?
Stage 4 cancer. Yep, it's real good. It's real good that he's in there, like, still running his mouth as White Wade Wilson and just getting immediately kicked the crap out of. Like, it's very good.
The fact that it cuts to him just throwing open the toilet in the cell is just great.
Yep.
Don't like the stealing of the pen and put in the prison wallet, if you know what I'm saying, side of this.
Want to know what scene they cut out of Once Upon a Deadpool?
I wonder why.
I'd like... It's one. That's one of those scenes...
It is genuinely funny, but it's so gross.
It's one of those scenes where it's like, I think you could cut half of that and it would still be really good. It like... If I was working on this movie, is it funnier hearing the sounds off screen and just seeing Deadpool's face? Probably, of just like these squishy noises and Deadpool being like, oh god, I can hear it. Oh, like, to me that's funnier of the like
Did that
the
make
unknown.
Pure Alpha E is a great line.
It's really good. Yeah. And I like Russell's insistence of like, I'm gonna find the biggest dude and we're gonna mess him. We're gonna do prison rules, and he immediately gets punched in the face and knocked over.
Because I like the fact that this is something that I love about this movie. We'll get to the reveal in a bit, but the fact that like the Wade is like, yeah, this is the icebox. Like the only the biggest guy in here is a monster that's locked in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
That who knows? It's just spoke of in legend. Who knows what the actual situation is?
Mm-hmm.
And then when Black Tom is starting to fight with them, Russell's like, I'm gonna shank the biggest guy in here, and Wade's like, second biggest. Biggest. He always clarifies it's the second biggest guy. It's not the biggest guy in here.
Because he said they have a monster locked in the basement right next to a steaming pile of foreshadowing. It's like,
yes,
yep, okay, sure, yep, you earned that one. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What do you know? Cable breaks into the prison.
Yep, and he's hunting not Deadpool, but
Did you
Russell.
think it was Deadpool?
I really did. Yeah, I thought that was a good. Because like, who else is it gonna be? It's not gonna be Russell. Like, what's he gonna do? He's got fire hands. It maybe goes all the way up to the elbow. I'm not sure. But like, having that kind of turn of him hunting Russell.
They get out of the cell, and then when the cell blows up, Deadpool's like, wait, that was our cell. You need to get away from me right now, kid, because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But someone's after me. Yep. And he takes the bait and switch kind of thing, and it turns out, no, it's Cable, and he's there for Russell.
There's actually a pretty good fight scene here when they're kind of the dubstep fight scene.
Yeah, with one of my least favorite moments in stunt / pratfalling / oh, that looks like it hurts, is Cable shoots the lock on, accidentally shoots the necklace thing,
the dampener, I think they called it.
Yes, that they're wearing, and then Deadpool does the jump off the floor above, hits Cable, and they both fall to the floor below, except Deadpool lands on the mess hall table.
Yeah.
And he lands in a Z shape, and it's just like the grossest thing.
They hold that on frame for long enough for you to be like, that looks like, nope, he's bent the wrong way. Okay. That's, they're still showing it. Okay. Oof, yikes. There's a couple of things here that I think is interesting. I do like Deadpool's only question about the future is if dubstep is around, and
no, he has 3.
Mm-hmm.
He has, if dubstep is still around.
Yep.
Can't remember the second one, and the third one is if Dopinder will ever find love.
That's true. Forgot about that. We haven't talked too much about Dopinder working at the bar, trying to fill his need for being a contract killer. But I like that there's when Deadpool says, I like dubstep, the dubstep song kicks in, the like most stereotypical dubstep. Also really like when right after Deadpool is like, I don't care about the "Are you my mother" kid. Like, I don't care about this kid at all. And then he holds up the pin. He's like, what does this one do? Like, that's a really good, like, 1-2 punch of I don't care. And then like, hey, we're going to die.
I have a mind.
Yeah.
What does mind do? But it's one of those things where Russell hears it. So Russell does what Deadpool says he does. He goes away.
Yep.
And he makes friends with somebody else.
Yep.
The biggest guy in the prison.
I really wasn't sure who this was going to be.
Did you have any ideas at all? Any suspicions who it might be when he knocks it? He does that do, and then the big boom boom hits back.
It's interesting because I feel like I was thinking about like, I didn't think it was going to be who it is, because to me he's not, the Juggernaut isn't that big. Like I had never gotten maybe the best sense of his scale in the comics.
Yeah.
And then when he's played by, who is, I think, Vinnie James in the...
Vinnie Jones,
Vinnie Jones, yeah. Like,
and he's just a regular dude.
He's just big like Vinnie Jones is. This one's huge. Like, I don't think I was expecting... But it's nice that when he comes on screen, Deadpool has the same reaction that I had of just like, it's the Juggernaut. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And I like
so
when you get a slow reveal of
yeah.
him. You get like a fist and an arm, and then you see the whole thing in a little bit later.
Because I felt like they've been teasing him for about an hour, and I'm like, okay, are you
Mm-hmm.
finally gonna? Okay, you finally showed him. Holy crap, Juggernaut is huge. Okay,
And he's
good.
6'10", by the way.
6'10", Lord. I I think they did a pretty good version of Juggernaut. Like it
Mm-hmm.
looks pretty good. It's like not the best CG I think we've ever seen. I think Colossus looks a lot better, but I don't think it looks bad.
I think it's comparable, especially
Mm-hmm.
considering he's real, you know?
True, true. Yeah,
Quote unquote real.
right. Um, we also do
But yeah,
have the
we had the fight scene between Cable and Deadpool. Our Batman line is a good line from that, along with the
yeah
"You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
that that's
Chef's
pretty good.
kiss,
I did appreciate
chef's
that.
kiss moment.
Yeah,
I think, I think this is where we get the second Vanessa moment.
yeah,
Um,
because when he falls in the water, um, he says like, "I can." I realize that I can be killed, but I don't stay dead. So
mhm.
like he talks to her again for a minute, and then when the timer goes off, he gets pulled back out again.
Yes,
Yeah, which
that's
is
what he realizes. It's about the kid.
right.
Like he, like, because she's repeating lines that she said previously, like
Mm,
in your heart's not in the right place. Kids let us be better versions of ourselves, and that's when
right.
he realizes, yes, it's about the kid. So we need to save the kid from the prison.
Yep.
Whatever we do, we need to do that, but we can't do it by ourselves.
We need a team of high precision drivers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, I I think the getting the team together scene is actually pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I really like that scene. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I it's nice to see that um oh my god, I just watched a show where he was a guest. The one who controls electricity.
Terry Crews, dude.
Thank you. Good god, he was just on a show I was watching.
Bedlam.
Bedlam. Yes. Um and I like that it's like Terry Crews, Bill Skarsgård, Rob Delaney, apparently Brad Pitt as Vanisher, which is like a really great joke
Uh-huh.
since he only shows up for maybe about
3 frames.
40 to 45 seconds. um but like I think if that's who you're going to how you're going to get the team together, I think that's pretty great. Also Zazie Beetz as Domino,
As
who
Domino.
really wasn't
Let me
expecting Domino to be in this movie of all characters. Um,
So in part one, we discussed people who kind of steal the show in this movie.
mhm,
Russell does it for me. He is charming in an arrogant and funny and stupid kid kind of way.
yep.
I think his performance is incredible.
Yeah, he's really good.
Zazie Beetz Domino is my number one star of the show for
She's
Deadpool
so
2.
good.
So she's incredible
And
in
like,
everything she does. And I love the fact that they palette swap her from her comic version,
yeah,
where she's white with the dark scar on her face, like the
yeah.
dark birthmark, whereas
Well,
this,
and
she's an actress of color.
I
So she gets the
really
white
like
one.
how they do her markings on her face that looks like Vitiglio in this movie,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to like a scar or paint or something. Especially
Yes.
how Vitiglio affects people of color more often than they do white people in general. So it's
Yeah.
it's such a
Really
cool,
good.
and just like it so many like little, because she's introduced as like, oh, I'm just really lucky.
I'm lucky. No, you're
Yeah,
not. Luck isn't a superpower. No, it isn't.
and she does
Yes,
like
it
the
is. No,
Elmer
it isn't.
Fudd
Yes, it is.
rabbit
And she
season,
does the
duck
flip
season.
around. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's like, oh. And she's like, okay, why are you here? I don't know. I'm sure I'll figure it out at some point.
yep.
What's my cosmic reason for being here? Mm.
And like, there's so much stuff like when they get ejected from, skipping ahead just a small bit, when they get ejected from the transport Deadpool gets thrown into like a pile of
Da-da-da.
rubble. Yeah, and she has her hands behind her back and she lands in this giant like blow up
Inflatable bear.
panda thing.
Yeah.
It's just, and she just walks away like, all right, that was great. Let's do it.
It's great for me because, like, I mean, during that sequence, like, we'll loop back to the X-Force moment in a second, but during that sequence when she's like, "Yeah, I'm going in. The thing's about to go into a tunnel. We need to take care of this," and he is on the radio ranting about how luck is not a superpower and how it's not even cinematic. Like, how are you going to show it? And it's just all of these cascading ripple effects of things that she's doing that are turning out in the positive for her.
Yeah.
Like, the big car accident leads to giving her a ramp to jump over the fence. Then she literally lands in the driver's seat of the thing.
Yeah.
The guy's gun jams as he's trying to shoot her.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm in." And he's like, "Wait, hold on. How are you in already?"
Yeah.
Like, he's ranting about how luck isn't a superpower, and she's already at
driving
the objective and finished it. It's great moments.
I really like. I normally don't like scenes like this, but the X-Force parachuting landing scene is actually pretty good because literally all of it goes all the way wrong. Like, it's not just like in most of these movies, one or two people
part
die.
Is they talk about the wind advisory from like the planning stage. When he's making the plan in crayon, it's written on the plan in crayon. Weasel from the bar says it.
Right.
Like, so I think Pete in the plane says it, or in a helicopter, he says it too. Everyone says about the high wind advisory.
Yep.
And it's ignored.
Also, I don't like T.J. Miller. I don't excuse anything he's done. I feel like he gets a little bit of a better script in this one, especially when he's about to get tortured, and he's like, the only thing I will tell you
won't
is
even make it
literally
through number
everything.
one. Yeah. I won't even make it through one.
Yeah,
I don't do well with pain.
I'm not even gonna make it to step one. Like, I'll tell you everything. That was pretty good. I like.
Yes.
I like that. But I do really like, because normally when you have like one of these parachuting things, two people get separated and one of them gets gunned down, and you know the junior guy, the guy who's, this is my final mission, he doesn't make it. Everybody dies. Just literally, even what's his name, Peter, even he dies.
Yeah.
After he almost makes it, because he gets vomited on.
He dies at first. That's
Right.
retconned later.
That's true. He does get saved.
But yeah, like Shatterstar is a really deep comic book cut too. So I mean, they're all deep cuts. Like, when you get down to it, they're all super deep cuts, and they Suicide Squad them, where they jump out the thing and they all get got in a variety of different and gruesome ways.
And most of them are just the dumbest ways. Like, most of them could have been avoided. Like, Deadpool sort of sees from a distance, but they're just all kind of bad. You know, like, there's a reason they're not on the X-Men team, because they're kind of not very
rough,
good at this thing. Yeah, like.
I love the fact that Vanisher hits the cables.
Yeah, and you get to see him.
And yeah, it's literally Brad Pitt, and you see him for literally like 4 seconds, and then he's gone, and he's out of the movie.
Yeah, and like, I like Deadpool's mounting frustration of like, just go left, just the helicopter, don't go near the helicopter, go left, and like his continued frustration of like, oh my god, what are you guys doing? Like, yeah. It's pretty good.
It's great. Anyway, yes, convoy scene.
Yeah. It's a pretty good action scene.
Good sequence.
Yeah. I feel like you're seeing some of the budget here with a giant Fast Saga transport going through the city there. I do really like they're transporting a lot of prisoners from the icebox, and I do like the Cable just starts ejecting people
like
just to be like,
to block Deadpool.
Yeah, like, I need Deadpool out of my way. I'm just going to use what I have here. And then I like seeing the people just be like, wait, no, and then just
flying off into
sliding
the
down the
distance.
street. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I Deadpool being delayed by missing his jump, which Cable makes his jump, which
Yep.
again, Lady Luck at it again, like it's absolutely fantastic. And then Cable does the jump out of the car and lands. Deadpool tries to do the same thing and he misses. And like he literally says, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to like, hold him up for a little bit. I'm a little delayed, essentially. And she literally says, "Lady Luck, take the wheel," and walks away as the thing turns a corner, nice and smooth.
Yep. It's a pretty good fight scene between Domino and Cable too. It's not super long, but there's some pretty good.
I would ask you your
shots.
name, but you'll be dead soon. And she's like, unlikely.
Right. She plays that role really well. Like
there is a casualness to the way she does everything, which I think is perfect for a character whose superpower is they are extremely
It's just
lucky.
going to work out. Like it's interesting because
it's almost like being a billionaire, dude.
Right, exactly. How can I lose? It's interesting because there's no cockiness to it. It's just like it's inevitable that things are going to turn out fine. It's all good, man. Like I appreciate how she played that because I think that's a fine line between making that character cocky and making that character just be like, I'm just lucky. It's just gonna be how it is.
It's really good. This whole sequence I think is genuinely well put together. The fact that Deadpool slides in after driving the car upside down from the bonnet, essentially.
Yep. While complaining,
he
this is
slides
really hard
in.
to do.
Yes, slides in, pushes the gun out the way, and saves her, and then the whole thing crashes because in the meantime Russell has used his pen to unlock his door.
Yep.
And then unlock his special friend's door, who just demolishes the entire truck, essentially.
I will always be a sucker for we've talked at length about shots that I'm a sucker for, like in the Fast Saga when they drive under an 18-wheeler. I'll love that you can do that 15 times in a movie and I'm like, they did it. But him like punching out of the bottom of the transport and having it fly. I love seeing those like multi-segmented transports just kind of like buckling in one way or another and kind of falling apart. That looks so cool every single time. We saw that in a Fast 9, I think it was, where the transport is like going, it like flips all the way over without coming apart. That's just cool looking, man. Long trucks flipping. That looks cool.
It's a great shot. It's fantastic. And then Juggernaut rips Deadpool in half with the line, "I'm gonna rip you in half now."
I was kind of surprised they actually did it. Like, I shouldn't have been, but the fact that he's just like, "I'm gonna rip you in half now," and just does it and then plops him on the ground and walks away. Just like there's just this sign of like, I need this annoying barking chihuahua to die. I'm just gonna do what I normally do and I'm gonna leave. And Deadpool just sort of being like, "Oh, okay, that was
okay." It's really good. And then the fact that Russell's like, he has a standoff with Russell, and Russell's like, he says to him, "Name one thing that Juggernaut's got that I don't have, and don't say legs. Don't you dare say legs." And then he says legs. And then he does the mime rope off.
I thought that was actually pretty good because Deadpool's like, what is that? Was that a rope? What are you doing? That's pretty good. Yeah,
it's really good.
And then we get this movie's version of the hand regrowing from the last movie. Also, quick note about Blind Al. When Deadpool goes to her apartment for the first time to get the cocaine, it is
Did you notice the cure for blindness was in there?
Which is really good.
That's the callback I was talking about in the last episode.
It's really good. But it's labeled booger sugar in Once Upon a Deadpool. And I was like, yep, great. Perfect. Thank you.
We forgot to talk about how he just puts that bag under his mask and then punches himself in the face. Fantastic little moment.
Captain Delicious Pants.
Yeah.
Anyway, another good montage. Another good one.
Yes. The legs scene, the hand scene equivalent in this. it is what it is. It's fine on some levels. I like the fact that everyone has different reactions to it, which is just funny.
And Domino
Um,
like kind of doesn't care. She's like, "Oh,
yeah.
all right, this is my life now. Sure, okay."
Yep. But this is also where Cable shows up.
Right,
They're like literally crap talking Cable, and then Deadpool says, "Oh, he's right behind you right now, isn't he?"
right.
Which is a flip on the usual thing of the person doing the crap talking is the one he's behind.
Yep.
And yeah, he's there, and they have a whole conversation, and he's like, "Okay, like this is what it is," and we find out. I saw this movie really close to seeing Looper for the first time,
Mm.
and the shots to the future where it's a dude in a cloak with a specific type of headgear or whatever coming
Right.
in. I was just like, okay, so
Wait a
it's
minute.
Looper
Right.
essentially.
You're
Like
pulling a
he
looper.
he becomes the big bad of the future
Right.
for whatever reason. Um, and yeah, they team up with Cable.
I
Give me 30 seconds.
I do. Okay, this is so stupid. I don't think the leg jokes overall are very funny. It's fine, but you're kind of like going back to the well again. But the
Is it the
shot,
basic instinct?
yeah, the shot of him walking like a baby giraffe on those legs to go shake Cable's hands, that was pretty good. I actually did like the
Uh-huh.
like smooth hairless baby butt walking over to Cable to shake his hand. I'm like, all right, that was pretty. The height disparity between the two, that's what really sold it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's really good, really really good.
yeah.
But yeah, the thing I forgot I was referencing a short while ago was the Wham scene from the first one, except this time it's for Colossus.
Yeah. I really like Colossus in this one again. I
Uh-huh.
his little book of rules is so
It's
funny.
like it's like tiny,
It's
even
like
for like Negasonic
it's
tiny,
like the size of a
and
pack of playing cards. Like
he's reading it every single time you see him,
it's
every
so
time.
good.
And then like he's in the bed and he hears the music and he just rolls over and covers his ears with his hands.
Yep.
It's like you know who it is.
And I do like that Colossus is sticking to his guns originally of just like I don't Deadpool like when they're at the before he gets thrown in the icebox, Colossus is like, "Look, you've let me down for the last time," and he's still very clearly holding to that. But once Deadpool says like, "Hey, we need to actually go save this kid. Like he's not irredeemable. Like this is what
Uh-huh.
we should be doing as X-Men. Sorry, X people." Um,
Yes.
like Colossus is softer inside is sort of wins over of like, I mean, we should
Well,
probably
that's
save this kid.
it's
No.
also because he gave him the whole speech about like this is
For
what
four or
friends
five
do.
moments.
Like no, this is what friends do. They
Hmm.
stick to with each other. They help,
Right.
not when it's easy, not when it's fun,
Hmm.
especially when it's hard. That's
Right.
what friends do.
Yep.
And Deadpool's like, "Yo, as a friend,
Yeah. Can we go do this thing?
can we go deal with this?"
Yep.
I like the fact that only Colossus comes along at first. Like
Yeah.
it's not Negasonic and Yukio. It's just Colossus.
Right.
Um, he's like, "Yeah, there's a Juggernaut-sized problem in this now."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I.
off we go to the school
Yep.
for a big old fight,
A
a
big.
big CG
Yeah, I was
fight
gonna
coming up.
say big CGI fight coming.
Uh-huh. I,
um.
one quick shout out here, other than the Thanos reference that he makes towards Cable,
Yep.
which is a great reference.
Hmm.
I like the fact that when Deadpool is fighting Juggernaut and he's on top of him, stabbing him, like trying to stab him behind the helmet, essentially.
Hmm.
He says, "Hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low," which is a
That
chef's
got me.
kiss reference to the
Yep,
Avengers.
that one got me. That was not a joke I was expecting, but it's one that kind of everybody knows now. That
Uh-huh.
that one was pretty good.
It's such a good. I don't know why they thought to put that in there, but the fact that they thought to put that in there is just an
Yep.
amazing moment in the thing.
Yeah.
Especially because he says it and then promptly gets thrown across the the
Is that
entire
when he gets
length of the set.
impaled through the head
I
again?
think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The fight scene
Colossus comes to
between
save him.
Colossus and Juggernaut is okay.
Yes.
It's nice to
Pick on
see.
somebody your own size is such a you line.
Right. It's nice to see Colossus sort of on the ropes of just like, oh no, this dude is
Oh,
really putting
he's
some damage
bigger and
on me.
he's stronger.
Yeah, like this isn't a thing I can just brute force my way through.
Mhm.
It's appropriate how they eventually take Juggernaut out, since that's been what Juggernaut has been referencing pretty much the entire time ad nauseum.
Yes.
So, and I,
I'm gonna put the cab driver in the red guy.
yeah,
I'm gonna put the red guy in the old guy. I'm
yep,
gonna take this bus and put it inside.
yep, yeah. It that was an okay
It
fight.
takes 3 X-Men to bring him down too, for the
True,
record.
that's true. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's not a bad fight scene.
Yeah.
I do like um,
The horror movie aspects of Russell chasing the headmaster through the corridors is great.
that stuff is really well shot. Like they use that location and the amount of fire that Russell can put out, I think really well. Like I think
Uh-huh.
that's you're right. Like it is like horror thriller movie sort of stuff, and I think it's used pretty effectively,
Yeah.
especially as Russell is chasing him through the school, saying like, "I you say it to me, like I need you
Say
to
the
say
line.
say the
Say the
line,"
line. Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
by the way, the other toilet paper guy was Alan Tudyk or Tudyk or
oh
however
Alan
you say
Tudyk,
that.
yeah,
So,
Alan
you
Tudyk's
know.
in like literally everything, so that's not too
Uh-huh.
surprising. Um,
But yeah, like him chasing him down is fantastic, and I
yeah,
like the backwards and forwards between Cable and Deadpool.
mm-hmm,
Of like he's gone, no, he hasn't done it yet, blah blah blah. Because you learn that this is essentially his first kill, and then he
mm-hmm,
goes on to bigger and better question mark
right,
things from there
right,
in the future. Um, but when all of the aides come out
mm-hmm.
with all of the weapons and stuff, and Deadpool's like, "Can I have one of those guns?" Like, nope. Okay, I'll just use this brick, I
Right.
guess.
Also, like Deadpool saying, like, "What's up with this like really dirty bear you have?" And he's like, "It's covered with the blood of my dead daughter." And Deadpool's like,
Uh-huh.
"Cool." Anyways, it's
Yep.
like,
Let's not talk about that right now, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. That's actually a pretty well shot fight scene for the most part too. I think where Cable and Deadpool are, su- they are a surprisingly smooth uh,
Team.
team, like working and murdering all these creepy like nurse aide people. Um,
Yeah, and Deadpool's like, "Oh, did you feel that? Did you feel that? That was
mhm.
great teamwork right there."
So good. Oh man. Um,
Yeah, Deadpool saves Russell's life by jumping in his way
right,
of Cable shooting him.
right.
And then we get the best slash worst death scene ever.
There's something about it, like when he still has his eyes open and he's laying on his back and it's been quiet for like 5 seconds. He's not dead, but it really got me when he's like, "Oh, it's just so hard to say goodbye," and I was like, "Okay, it's just this is really dumb in a way that I really respect. You went for it."
Yeah, and I like the fact that like he has different moments. He has his only one thing, but then he also has the the speech where he breaks it down for everybody.
Yeah, and he's like
Where
says
he like,
goodbye to the team.
like that's a really good little moment.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has their own little team, little names, and I forgot what Negasonic's name was now, which is bad
I don't
because
remember. It was pretty good though.
it was probably great, and because his final one for her is incredible,
Mm-hmm.
which is the post-credit sequence, which we'll get there.
Right.
Um, yeah, he eventually dies, and Cable does the hero thing.
Right. He uses his only charge to
Uh-huh.
turn
To
back
go
time.
back and then put the coin in Deadpool's outfit
Right.
where he's going to shoot him
Yep.
in the heart, because his heart was in the right place for once,
Right.
which is a nice
Wink.
callback as well. um, yeah, And then we go through it all again
Yep.
in fast forward, essentially.
Right. Also, I forgot about the Wilhelm scream that
Yes,
that Deadpool lets
yes.
out. I think it's during the fight with a Juggernaut, and then
I think so.
that's the only sound effect that plays when it's fast forwarding is the Wilhelm scream again. I was like, all right, that's just dumb enough to work twice, but I think that's the limit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have the he makes Colossus swear. I should mention that in his death speech.
It's pretty good. I want to get to that part in Once Upon a Deadpool to see how they handle that, because he talks about it in the intro. You can only get 2 F-bombs, and
I thought it was one in a PG-13.
I thought so too, but that's what he says in the intro. So I want to see if that's one of them. I really wanted to finish that before we watch this, because that's one of the scenes I want to see of, like, how are you going to handle
F-word can only be used once in a PG-13 movie.
Okay, I bet that comes back up then.
Interesting.
I bet him and Fred Savage get into an argument about that about 20 minutes later.
I wonder if they both say it at the same time and that counts as one.
Right.
But yeah, this is where we get the, hey, it was a family movie all along, and he's not wrong.
Right.
It was a family movie all along.
Yep, just your found family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, he describes them all. They have a funny little credit sequence, and then the post-credit sequence happens, where Yukio and Negasonic are fixing Cable's time travel machine. And this is my favorite one. He yells, "Fix it, 11" at Negasonic.
That was pretty good.
That was my favorite one, where it's just like, okay, can't complain. That's fantastic.
Russell calls Negasonic Justin Bieber during
the
Deadpool's like, he called you Justin Bieber.
He's like, everybody stop, or Justin Bieber gets it, and he looks to his left and he's like, oh, he called you Justin Bieber, that's great.
There's one really great thing where Russell and Deadpool say the same thing at the same time. We're like, that's from Terminator. Like that.
It's from RoboCop. Colossus says something, I can't even remember what he says. And Russell and Deadpool are both like, yeah, you stole that from RoboCop, dude.
Right. Deadpool is like, stand down. Come on. Yeah, that post-credit sequence was pretty good. And then the one at the very end of the movie, where Deadpool immediately uses the time travel thing to go visit infant Hitler.
He goes back in time and he does several things. He saves Vanessa.
Oh, that's sorry, I forgot okay, go ahead. I forgot about this rapid fire montage.
Undoing the fridging.
Yep.
He then goes back and kills fake Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I love how many times he shoots fake Deadpool. He shoots him like 15 times.
Yeah, and without even really giving into the fact, he's like, hey, when your old pal Ryan Reynolds comes and asks you in a few years after you've hung up the boots if you can do it again, if you could say yes, that would be great. Having no intention to do so at the time, and then what do you know? 6 years later, then it's Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's literally he's hung up the claws essentially.
And I also like that. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, just fixing the timeline. Blap, 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 blap. It's just like, don't worry about it. No big deal.
When your old pal Ryan comes and says, hello, blap, 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 and asks you to do it, blap, 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 blap. If you could say yes, blap, 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 that would be great.
And
he
just walks off screen. It's so good. Yep.
Then he goes back and he kills Ryan Reynolds when he's talking about how he's made it big time. And he has the Green Lantern script.
The Green Lantern script and says something like, this is a masterpiece, and just gets shot through the head, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. And then Deadpool's like, you're welcome, Canada, which is just a fantastic thing.
Also, when Deadpool gets
Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds are both Canadian, for the record.
Right. And when Deadpool earlier in the movie gets thrown into the school, there's that kid there eating cereal, and Deadpool signs the magazine with Wolverine on it. He signs it Ryan Reynolds, and I was like, all right,
yes,
that's pretty good.
Also, we totally forgot to talk about Domino in the orphanage school. It's like, I'm gonna need a bus to get you all out of here, and then the bus crashes through the building, and she's like, orphans?
It turns into a slide. Just really great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kills Ryan Reynolds in Green Lantern 3, and then he goes even further back in time, and yes, it's baby Hitler. He says,
Newborn
"Oh,
Hitler.
you're practicing the salute already, I
It's
see."
That was a pretty good line, actually. And
It
I
was.
also like the line of like, I'm gonna get my buddy Cable. He doesn't have any problem killing kids. And it's just like,
Hmm.
Jesus. All right.
It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Deadpool 2. It's pretty good.
Hey, Boston.
Yeah.
Turns out this is a really good movie too.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, comedy wise, it still has the same problem that the first movie did. I think largely probably because of TJ Miller, but I just want to blame him for a lot of stuff in general. Um, I think they do less of the like improv riffing stuff, which I think helps the movie a lot.
Yeah.
It does more fourth wall breaking referential stuff, which I think on paper would make me concerned, but I think they pace it enough and they do just enough that it's not annoying. It's not too much.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think even more so than the first movie, everybody in this movie is acting the hell out of this movie. Like it is a
The
genuinely
performances
well
across the
acted
board
movie.
are superb.
Yeah.
Like, and they all fit so well with their characters. Like the guy who can throw the Scars guard who
Hmm.
shows up. He's only in for like 4 seconds, but he still feels like he gives everything to it.
One of my one of my favorite lines from Dopinder is Deadpool asks him, "Okay, Dopinder, what's your special, like what's your ability?" And Dopinder pauses
Courage.
and for like 5 seconds. It goes courage, and Deadpool immediately goes, "How adorable," and like just moves right
Mhm.
on. Like Dopinder's so good in this movie
Yeah,
too.
and
Of
then when
this,
Pete gets hired and he throws the glasses on the floor in the background,
come on, it's just
it's
like
so good.
this like contract killer with the heart of gold. It's almost like Wheatley in Portal 2 of just like
Yes.
you're so like how are you gonna do this? You're like a cream puff. Like what are you gonna? You just got you got marshmallow inside. What are you gonna do? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah,
The
I
toilet paper tube arms is a great insult, by the way.
that one's pretty good too. Yeah, yeah. I think I largely liked it. I was a little bit concerned about as this movie gets a bigger budget and gets more stuffed with things. I still think it's a little bit has like a little bit too much stuff in it, but I don't think that really necessarily hurts the movie. I think the majority of the storylines that they have get
Hmm.
resolved and get the appropriate attention, and I think they're handled well. It's not just like the movie finishes and you're like, oh yeah, wait, what happened with all these people? Like what happened with them? Like the whole thing gets resolved. So I don't know.
Yep.
I think it was solid. That was good. What?
Yeah. I genuinely still enjoyed it this time around. And the jokes still land. Like, it probably helps that, like, it makes. I think it's the execution of the references is so good that you don't actually need to know the references to find them funny. Like when they do a fourth wall break and reference something in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
um, I you don't need to know them. Like because there's a couple like there's one in the first one, the Mama June reference. I don't know who that is, but I get it from context what it means.
Right.
And they do the same thing in this one where like you don't need to know the references and if you do, it's great, but sometimes it's just so fast that the next joke is just around the corner. So if you miss one, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. You've got another one like
Yeah, you got
three
five
lines
more you'll
later.
probably get.
Like you don't
Yeah.
need to know the sun's getting real low line, but if you do, it's gold.
That one's
Like it
pretty
is
good.
genuine gold. But it
Yep.
doesn't matter if you miss it because it's not super vital to the plot.
Right. Right. Let's do ratings here real quick. IMDb 7.6 out of 10 with almost 700,000 ratings. Rotten Tomatoes 84% on the tomato meter and 86% on the new popcorn meter, 25,000 ratings. And then Letterboxd has it a 3.5 out of 5.
I mean, I'm probably a 4 if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm probably in
Like,
that like 8 out of 10 range. It's
yeah,
really
8.
solid. Not the
Like
best I've ever seen.
one for me is a 9 to 10, depending
Hmm.
on my mood. This one's probably an 8 to a 9, depending on my mood.
Right.
And honestly, it's just because like it's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in this.
Yeah.
And it feels like I think the thing that the first one did so well was it was essentially 2 action scenes that were just divided by the backstory and
True.
the ongoing story.
Right.
Whereas it very much felt like this was much more linear, no pun intended,
Hmm.
with the time travel beats and everything else. It was a more linear movie, but I think there just a little too much was thrown in there.
Yeah.
Like I like the X-Force joke, I genuinely do.
Hmm.
But you have 40 minutes of footage there basically just to get to Domino.
Right.
Worth it to get
Right.
to Domino. Don't get me wrong.
It's pretty alright.
But you could just have Domino in the bar. You know, it
Yeah.
could just be one of those things.
Right.
I know it is a genuinely great movie.
Yep.
And shocked me how great it was.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got one more movie left in this season, which we'll be talking about next episode. Hopefully, you would join us then. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Boy.